Call the meeting to order.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Botts,
Yes.
Lesh.
Yes.
Tonight we have a presentation, the Liberty in Mexico Committee. And I don't know who all is planning to speak or how many or whatever, but once again, we're going to give equal time. So you have 10 minutes to give your presentation tonight.
Our speaker is not here yet, so that cuts into our time and so be it. But they're downstairs waiting for pretty soon as soon as he gets here.
Maybe that's the speaker. No? Okay. Well, we will move on to the approval of the minutes for the work session, May 27 work session.
Williams,
I was absent, so I'm staying.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Botts,
Yes.
Lesh.
Yes.
And now approval of the May 27 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Williams,
Abstain.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Botts,
Yes.
Lesh.
Yes.
Do we have a speaker? All right. Now, we went on past the presentation, but we'll go back to it. And in the interest of fairness, we're going to limit also to 10 minutes for whoever wants to speak during this time.
Yes, sir.
And if you'd give your name and
Yes, my name is Gary Nolan, and in addition to being a syndicated talk show host, I'm also the national spokesperson for the Citizens Freedom Alliance. And you'll have to forgive me, I was running late and ran up the steps. So anyway, you have undoubtedly been inundated with all kinds of studies indicating that secondhand smoke somehow causes cancer and heart disease. Well, they're preying on your ignorance of the science, and it's understandable that it might be somewhat confusing. But what they want you to do is to use force to compel these businesses to operate the way Dr. Taylor wants them to operate. And the arguments that are being offered include a study by the Environmental Protection Agency, and I will assume that you were all exposed to that study by Dr. Taylor. Anyway, the Environmental Protection Agency said that secondhand smoke is a dangerous carcinogen. And it turns out that that the EPA's study was vacated by an anti-tobacco judge named Osteen. Now, he was reversed on appeal, but the appeal was a question over jurisdiction, not his perspicacity, not his judgment. So let me tell you what the EPA did. The EPA did a meta-analysis. That is to say, they took a bunch of other studies and studied them. And according to Judge Osteen, and I know this to be a fact, they eliminated any studies that showed no correlation between secondhand smoke and heart disease and lung cancer, included only the worst studies, announced their results about a year and a half or 2 years before the study was even concluded. Now, if you know anything about epidemiology, this is not a science that deals with flesh and bones and organs. It's simply a math game. That's all it is. And the Environmental Protection Agency has what they call a confidence level. And they operate on a confidence level of 95. Anything less than 95%, it's a non-issue for the Environmental Protection Agency. Well, what they did is they rolled their confidence level back to 90. And just to give you some idea, that literally doubles the likelihood that they're wrong in their conclusion. And Judge Osteen, let me see if I can find it here. He said, in this case, the Environmental Protection Agency committed to a conclusion before research had begun, excluded industry by violating the Act's procedural requirements, adjusted established procedural and scientific norms to validate the agency's public conclusion, and aggressively utilized the acts of authority to disseminate findings to establish de facto regulatory scheme intended to restrict plaintiffs' products. He literally vacated their decision. The Nonpartisan Congressional Research Service also looked at the EPA study on secondhand smoke and concluded exactly the same. It was junk science. Now, there's another study I believe they referred to, the anti-smoking group, a 2006 study by the Surgeon General's report in which it is alleged that there is no safe level of exposure for secondhand smoke. I want you to know that nowhere in that study does the Surgeon General make that statement. And the reason they can't make that statement is because it isn't true. I don't care what toxin you talk about, ricin, arsenic, secondhand smoke, anything, there is, in fact, a safe level of exposure. If I were to stand out in the middle of the street and have a cigarette, eventually you would get those molecules, you would inhale them, and it's not going to give you cancer or heart disease. So we know there's a safe level of exposure. The question is, what is it? Well, John Banzhaf, the father of these smoking bans, went to OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and sued them to get them to pass a requirement that said you cannot smoke in the workplace. The acting director of OSHA said, I can't do this without establishing a norm, because I cannot imagine in any normal workplace a situation where the chemicals in secondhand smoke would exceed our PELs. PELs are permissible exposure limits. In other words, if they tried, they would have to say, yep, this much is okay, nope, that much isn't. And they indicated that you couldn't really get to the point where you could say nope. You couldn't say no under normal circumstances. So John Banzhaf dropped the lawsuit. This is the federal government telling us that secondhand smoke does not cause heart disease and does not cause lung cancer. Now, there are several other studies, one of them referred to by the anti-smoking group, about a city that had a smoking ban and miraculously had I think a 30% drop in heart attack rates. It was a faulty study. They looked at 18 months before, I think, or 18 months after the ban. The problem is that those rates vacillate all the time, by numbers even greater than that over the course of a year or two. There have been several studies done on cities and states where they have enacted smoking bans. And what they have concluded, and this includes McFadden and Rand Corporation, several others, that in fact, in some states, the heart attack rate actually goes up. Other states, it's flat, and some it goes down a bit. And over a course of years, it does this. There is no change in the heart attack rate, no increase or decrease in myocardial infarctions as a result of a ban on secondhand smoke. Now, you're probably wondering how it is that I would know all this, how it is that other cities have voted for smoking bans. If they were exposed to the same information, why would they do it? Well, I'm here to tell you that the anti-smoking crew is backed up by literally hundreds of millions of dollars. So they can afford to come up with these jerry-rigged studies, they can afford to come up with this junk science, and they can afford to send people out to talk to you and give you this nonsense. But the bar owners and the restaurant owners don't have that kind of money. And I can't take money from the tobacco industry, who I'm sure would love to see me go around and do this, but the moment I take even a dime, everything I tell you is jaundiced. So let me tell you that I receive no pay for this presentation, not a dime. Let me address one more thing here, and how much time do I have left? 2.5 minutes. Let me address one more thing. They do this dog and pony show when they come in to push for this secondhand smoke thing. They drag in a guy with a little receiver on his back, and he sucks up the air and comes out and tells you that there's so many parts per million of pollutants in the air and how dangerous it is, and they compare it to the Environmental Protection Agency studies on environmental pollutants. Well, that dog and pony show only shows you that there's smoke in the air. You could get the same reading if you went into the kitchen where they're grilling hamburgers. Doesn't mean it's dangerous. And the Environmental Protection Agency says that those levels of exposure that they refer to, which are different chemicals, I might add, they're chemicals from burning carbon fuels, et cetera. They say that those are not, they admonish us not to use those for indoor air pollution standards because they refer to 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week exposure. In other words, you're in a city where there's so much pollution that even when you go to bed at night, you're exposed to it. Every study is junk science, and I will conclude by throwing down the gauntlet. I will come back here, I will debate and let you guys moderate. Dr. Taylor, he can pick any 3 studies anywhere in the world on secondhand smoke, and I'll debate him. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. How'd I do? Time?
There was they're touting a study that was done here in Mexico. A fellow from the University of Missouri went to eight businesses. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, it's the dog and pony show I was just telling you about.
Yes.
Yeah, here, let me
What you're saying is that they can't do that monitoring inside a business and come up with the information that they're presenting to us. That's is that correct?
It's a different, all they have demonstrated is that there's smoke in the bars where they allow smoking. They haven't demonstrated a toxic level of any chemicals, just that there's smoke. And they could take that same device and wander back to the grill where they're making hamburgers and come up with the same 2.5 p.m. that they're getting outside where they're smokers. That doesn't mean that grilling hamburgers is a dangerous act exposing the chef to carcinogens. And if I can, I'll tell you exactly. When the EPA assigns descriptive health ratings to air quality standards that range over 6 levels, they don't apply to exposure in restaurants and bars. Their ratings are generalized guidelines designed very specifically to be used only as averages over extended periods of time. Exposure that individuals have no real escape from, even when they're sleeping. The EPA is quite clear in warning researchers not to pretend the measurement of exposures of less than 24 hours of these pollutants have any meaning at all compared to the EPA's 24-hour guidelines. So in other words, all they told you was there's smoke in the air. They haven't told you there's a dangerous level of any chemicals. In fact, if, you know, they always tell you that there's water, that there's arsenic in the water or in the secondhand smoke. Well, the truth is, you would have to drink literally you'd have to inhale, 165,000 hours to get the same amount of arsenic you get from drinking a single pint of government-approved, perfectly safe tap water. So when they tell you, well, there's arsenic in the air and all these dangerous chemicals, right now we're getting more formaldehyde from the carpeting than you get from secondhand smoke. I will provide links to any of the scientific data that you want. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email or give me a call. I'll be glad to come back.
Okay.
Thank
Anyone
you.
else have a question? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is ordinance, bill number 2014-39. An ordinance amending the code of the City of Mexico, Missouri, Chapter 7, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 10, Schedules. 2 readings by title only and passage. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. This was an item that I think we had discussed maybe a month ago in regard to some parking issues and entrance things at the YMCA, and this was one of the steps to move forward. And to cover the details of this, I will turn to Kenzie Russell.
Just as a brief recap of some of the history of the issue, the Y had approached the city with safety concerns when the Y programs are going on, park programs are going on, and things get really busy over there in the Fairgrounds Park area. A lot of people, not just young children, but people in general, crossing the street and The parking on both sides of Adams Drive as it comes into the park there was creating a situation where people walking out from between parked vehicles and that sort of thing. Meeting with Chad and with the Y officials, we came up with a three-part plan to try to make things safer, and that included marking a designated pedestrian crossing where the bulk of people seem to be crossing the street. And then a second step was to make that part of Adams from its intersection with Fairgrounds west to the second entrance into the Pool YMCA parking lot as no parking on either side. As far as parking capacity is concerned, there's adequate parking spaces in the parking lot there. And then the third point is to create a new entrance off Fairgrounds, actually a new old entrance where an old existing entrance used to be, that would go west and would have associated parking with it that would serve the soccer fields, the basketball courts, and the tennis courts as well. And that would tend to split some of this traffic and parking into two locations as it moves in and out with the various programs. And so what we've presented tonight is the second step, establishing the no parking zone. The pedestrian crossing, I believe, got painted last week. I haven't been out there to check, but it was on the schedule to do last week. If the rain didn't prevent us. It's done, okay. If the rain didn't prevent it, it was on the schedule to be done. So this is the second step, and then as we get the opportunity to schedule manpower, the intent is to build the second entrance and the parking with street division and park department personnel here later in the year. So the recommendation is that we proceed.
A question. This new entrance, you said there would be associated parking. Are you talking about additional parking lot area, or are you just talking about getting them into a different part of the existing parking lot?
A little bit of both. It would provide a new entrance to the parking lot that's over by the basketball courts and the tennis courts, that small lot there. So it would provide a different entrance to that area, serve that existing. But then the intent is to make the drive wide enough that angle parking can be stacked along either side of the drive. It may have to be staged depending on budget. We may get the drive and one side parking in this year and have to put in the other side next year. But the intent would be to have parking along that drive as well as serve the existing lot.
Okay, thank you.
Where's the crosswalk at, Kenzie?
It is just west of the first drive entrance into the Y. So somebody parks there in the Y lot, they'll be able to cross. We may have to look at extending the culvert there to wet weather, so where they cross the ditch to provide a dry pathway there, but it's just west of that entrance.
As having a kid that goes out there on the weekends, one thing I would ask also, maybe we should look into is, and I agree with the no parking there, is everybody's parking on the, like, when you come in and you turn to go towards the fields, they're all parking like in front of the basketball court and everything out there. Yes. But then you have cars parking along the side going up and down. So it's very hard, and it's dangerous because, I mean, we've almost hit kids trying to back out because you've got these cars sitting right here. And so maybe that's something, either if we can gravel that and make that parking and then no parking on the other side of the street. because that's a dangerous situation. I'm really surprised. It's just as bad as Adams Street sometimes, and worse sometimes, because at least on Adams Street everybody's going the same way. They're all up and down, but over there on the side street, you got people parked this way, and then you got cars this way. So when you back out,
And some of that will be alleviated because a portion of that drive we anticipate would come out so that there wouldn't be a through traffic connection. You'd either come in one entrance and leave by that same way, or come in the other and leave the same way. So some of that might be alleviated, but what's left in there, we'll take a look at.
yeah, because that's
We should get enough of it removed to take care of that part.
because that's the one thing I noticed. And when we went back and we saw them, we were like, you know what, that's a bad deal, because I mean, several times you can't see kids running between those cars parked side, back, front to back, and you're trying to pull out. And
We haven't been out there to put the flags in the ground yet, but I guess my vision of it was that basically from the basketball court to the south, we'd be getting rid of that center portion. We'll just leave enough so that we have parking at the basketball court, basically, and then you'll have parking at the tennis court parking lot. So that area you're talking about, I know exactly what you're saying. That part of that road should be gone.
okay.
And the YMCA lot also as well, right? We'll have parking there on the Y lot. That's, I mean, that's a pretty good sized lot.
Oh, yeah.
Those crossings are great if people observe them, you know. They say deer crossings are great if the deer know where they are. But,
We've had to move some signs for the deer.
I'm sure we have. I assume that normal signage will go with this, and
Yes.
the pedestrian crossings will go.
Yes.
I move for a reading of bill number 2014-39.
Second.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Botts,
Yes.
Lesh.
Yes.
Bill number 2014-39, an ordinance amending the code of the City of Mexico, Missouri, Chapter 7, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 10, Schedules. I move for second reading of bill number, title by title only, of bill number 2014-39.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Botts,
Yes.
Lesh.
Yes.
Bill number 2014-39, an ordinance amending the code of the City of Mexico, Missouri, Chapter 7, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 10, Schedules. I move for passage of bill number 2014-39.
Second.
Williams.
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols. Botts,
Yes.
Lesh.
Yes.
Next, we have the claims.
Make the motion to pay the claims.
Second.
Williams.
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Botts,
Yes.
Lesh.
Yes.
Okay, we're down to council comments. Councilman Lesh?
Yes, I'd like to say thank you to all of the Miss Missouri volunteers, City of Mexico, who worked so hard to put on a great show this year. That's a big event for our community, and they put a lot of time and hard work in it. It's an all year long amount of work, so thank you to those folks for their making Mexico a stop for a lot of folks.
Councilman Williams?
I got a lot, sorry. First is the pool. Where are we at with the pool?
The jets, of course, are not a normal size, so the plugs, to plug those jets to do the pressure testing have to be special ordered. So we're looking at probably a week from tomorrow, potentially, for having the pressure testing crew here. And until we get that data, you know, we've had some pretty mixed results from some of the tests. We really need that to be able to nail down what's going on, to, you know, either confirm or eliminate that disease. You know, I don't know there's a whole lot else I can tell you right now, other than it remains to be a problem.
I've had several people also ask me this question. If we're dumping 50,000 plus gallons of chlorine treated water daily, is DNR, I mean, have they said anything? Because apparently we're just putting that out there.
No, that, it's going to sewer.
Okay.
We don't dump that to the ditch. We
Okay.
go to sewer.
Well, that wasn't sure. Nobody.
For exactly that reason.
Okay. I would also like to thank the Miss Missouri people. That was a great event, brings a lot of people to town. And this brings me to the streets. We have the micro sealing done this year, and I noticed that the streets that we've done this year, you guys have done patching on, and we've done that in the past, but I noticed the patching coming through a lot more on this new micro sealing. Is that they're using a different stuff or lower levels, or?
Yes, this is a different product than we have used in the past. This is we're sealing the surface of that street to prevent oxidation, and in the past we had a product that had more solids in it, so it developed a little thickness. And this has less solids, so it doesn't develop the same thickness, and you don't get the smoothing out of some of the irregularities involved with this particular product. So, yeah, even some of the paint will kind of shadow through, and you can see where some of the patches and all are with it, but it seals the surface, which is what our intent is.
But that doesn't have any long-term difference.
It's about a 5-year product for us, and at $1.43 a square yard, we can do that twice in 10 years for a lot less money than we can do a full overlay.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not talking about the micro seal itself. I'm saying since it's a less product that you're micro sealing with, is it a relate?
There's just less solids in it, less sand, if you will, in it, and so that for what we're doing, sealing the surface, that doesn't affect it.
Doesn't affect it.
So all it does is just not build up as much thickness.
Okay, and I would, I know I usually talk about my stuff because I'm a councilman. I don't feel like, I should address things around my house or anything. But I am going to address Jackson Street. There's a crack basically down the entire street. And there's grass growing through it down the entire street. And I bring this up because we had Miss Missouri here and we had a lot of people from out of town, and I don't understand. Are we going to do something with that? Or, because I don't notice that on a lot of other streets. I know that street was treated differently because it used to be, because they dug it all up and put the asphalt, it used to be concrete.
And you have some history that I'm not fully aware of there. But yes, we do have a problem with grass and weeds growing in cracks in the streets around town, particularly where there's not as much traffic to wear it off, or where the wheel path doesn't go. We do try to do some spraying where it gets really bad, but we can't round up all the streets in town either.
Oh, I understand that. And
also, and Jackson Street's probably coming due on our pavement rating for some attention to treatment, crack sealing, and sort of thing.
I just noticed it when we were coming back from the MMA, because I live towards the top, so I always come from the top of the hill, and we were coming back from the pageant, and I was like, you could see the green streak up the entire street, and I was like,
Well,
maybe we should seal that or something.
We've been working for a couple of years over in that area of town, and I'm sure what we've done has probably made that park look even worse by comparison.
That's all right. You're aware of it. I just wanted to make sure. Last thing, I wasn't here at the last council meeting because I coached my son's Little League team, and that was the beginning of the Optimist season. So I missed the smoking people last week, or last meeting. I did watch it on YouTube. If anybody didn't know, we do record these, and they are on YouTube. And so where I'm at on this is, how do we come to a resolution? Do we have a public forum and then have some kind of ordinance presented and take a vote? Because there's a lot of people on both sides of this issue who have put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it. and these people deserve an answer one way or another. They do. Are we for it? Are we against it? I wasn't here for the other side. I'm not going to say one way or another. But I do think people deserve an answer. I mean, there's 1,000 signatures on one petition. I don't know how many you guys have on a petition. But you guys are spending time. We apparently last time decided we were going to try and mediate between the two. And so we have the city attorney spending time and we have the city manager spending time to come to a resolution. And so how do we, I don't know the process, how I can push forward something, a public forum, and then, then take a week and have an ordinance presented and we vote it up or down, or how we go forward with it, how I can, because I just feel people deserve an answer one way or another, rather than just we're going to listen to you and see you later.
What, if I may, what I was suggesting to council members individually at this point, because there, as I think as the mayor said, there's been no decisions made and no direction, and the direction that we did receive was to try to meet and see if there was some middle ground, and we've done that, and as I've reported back to you, that didn't seem to go very far. So I think the suggestion that I would offer here publicly then at this point would be is that we do a work session to discuss this, and I think the best thing that could happen is the city attorney could then enlighten you really on regards to the laws and what is possible, what isn't possible, and then maybe from that you guys as a group could form some proposal or idea that you wish to bring forward. But at this point I've gotten no clear direction as any type of consensus, if you will, so maybe that would help you draw a consensus as a work session item to sit down and for the 5 of you to discuss what policy direction you'd like to take. And I think then at that point you need to know legality, what you can and can't do, so to speak, and that might help you formulate a plan how you wish to move this forward, or at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically where I'm at, because I watched that YouTube, and I mean, I talked to some of the people, because I know people on both sides of the issue, and those people left, and they didn't, I mean, they said nice things, but they were like, we don't know if we're any closer to getting anything passed or not passed. And so, I mean, I just feel like we need to come to some sort of resolution one way or another for both sides. How we make that happen, I don't know. And that would be all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Nichols.
While it's fresh in everybody's mind, Chris, you're a prime example of the way it should be done. Being a manager of McDonald's, you all were smoking, and now you're not smoking. And that didn't take city council telling you what to do. It's your business, you run it. If you lose customers, you lose customers. If you gain customers, you gain customers. That part we ought to stay out of, in my opinion. Now, getting back to the cracks in the street, Kenzie, I've noticed a lot more hairline cracks, and I would think that stuff should have at least filled the hairline cracks.
It does go down into the cracks. It doesn't necessarily fill them up to a smooth surface.
Okay. 'Cause I know before you didn't notice them. Now you notice them pretty,
Yeah. And the difference is the amount of solids.
Okay.
That is the difference.
Okay. I'd also like to thank everybody that participated in getting the Miss Missouri patching going. That's all I got.
Councilman Miller.
Well, I'd add my appreciation also to the folks that worked with the Missouri pageant. I think it's a great thing for Mexico. I'm glad we've kept it, and I hope we continue to keep it for a long time to come. Kenzie, I appreciate the work that the crew did out on Missouri Street and getting that street fixed. I know you hear a lot of the time what needs to be done. You don't often hear when it has been done and a good job was done, but they did. And another thing that I wanted to bring up, I've mentioned this to the city manager, so it comes as no surprise to him. I had an occasion to go out and visit with Chad at the swimming pool while he was working with his crew out there. It was a very hot day, miserable hot, and they were out there hustling. They weren't waiting for some consultant to come in. They weren't waiting for somebody to come tell them what to do. They were trying to run the thing down. And Chad, I appreciate what you do and what your crew does. I appreciate all the work that you've done on trying to locate this problem. Now take care of me, Your Honor.
Bruce?
I have nothing this time.
Kinsey, I guess it's your day in the barrel.
Somebody else has to come up with an ordinance next time.
No, I received a call regarding the south end of Gray Street. And I went out there and looked, and it's been kind of dredged out. And would you address what's happening there? It's a lot of water standing, and it's pretty darn flat, but I don't know.
Last December, and we've had a number of conversations back and forth with Missouri American and all so I'm going to kind of give you the summary history a little bit here. Last fall, and I believe it was in November, Missouri American here locally got some provisional money that they had not expected to do some capital improvement work. That neighborhood had 2-inch water lines in it, which did not provide fire protection. And they chose the area of Gray and Omar, Francis, Margaretta to upgrade the water mains, and they did a good bit of that work in December and January, which is not the best weather for getting ground smoothed out. That also happens to be one of the flattest areas of our community. There's about 6 inches of elevation difference from one end of Gray Street to the other end of Gray Street. That's a fairly long street. Since that time, this spring, M&M, the contractor for Missouri American, has been going back, putting in new driveway culverts and grading out the ditches. There at the end of Gray and Francis Street, they actually had started to do some ditching work from the uphill side rather than the downhill side. They pulled off and in essence left a hole that had been dug. Here recently, after we had met with Missouri American and all, tried to get that whole project back on schedule and coordinated and all. Our engineering tech has established some ditch grades out there. We'll be providing some grade stakes, and M&M will be coming back to regrade that ditch. And it's probably still going to hold some water after the end of the rain, but we're going to do our best to try to get it to drain. And with the series of small rain showers and all that we've kind of had continually, that work just has not occurred yet. But that's the plan for how to take care of it.
Okay. Is that scheduled for pretty much as soon as it dries up?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
When I went out there, was it Friday or Sunday, and you actually see, it used to be you could see down, you'd see the pond, and then it was just dirt. And now you can see a ditch down the whole Francis Street. So,
They have done a little bit to try to get it to drain on a temporary basis till we can get a good grade established.
Yeah.
how's the street look?
The street, Francis Street is...
Where it comes around, it looks like it did right there with the palms, that looked like the street was dipping down toward the...
The edge of the street there, that ditch and pond and all is close to the edge, and I think there's, that edge is probably broken off a little bit.
From the center toward the pond, it was...
Yeah. Yeah, it's never been the best of streets. This has not been beneficial to it.
Okay, well, I want to add to everyone else's comments the appreciation of the volunteers that put on this Missouri pageant. All right, we move to public comments, and those who wish to make public comments, please approach the podium, state your name and address, and please keep your comments to a maximum of 3 minutes.
My name's Thomas Fiedler. I live at 1617 Meadow Lane here in Mexico. Just wanted to say real quick about the smoking issue. I love the fact that Mr. Williams that wants to move forward on this is kind of what I'm hoping to, put in a lot of work on that, and I hope the other side feels the same. The only thing I would really like to ask is that we wait till after that debate happens between Mr. Nolan and Dr. Taylor if they're going to do it, and we can get all the facts out in the open, because as you heard today, there's a lot more facts, and that's just what he crammed into a 10-minute spiel. You know, he told me, he's like, how long do I got? Because I'll talk as long as I need to. And I was like, well, I just told him, like, we got 10 minutes, so let's do that, you know. So that's all I really have to say about that. Did have one other thing I wanted to address, and that is, and I'm going to try to read this as best I can. It's from the city ordinance, section 10-182A6, and I'll read what that actually says here too. Section 2-182, unlawful possession or use of a weapon. A person commits an offense or an unlawful possession or use of a weapon if he knowingly, and I'll jump down to where it's number 6, openly carries a firearm readily capable of lethal force. I would like to request that that be reviewed, whatever other avenues I have to go through in order to get that to happen. Basically, this is a law that makes open carry illegal in the city of Mexico, and there's some constitutionality concerns and some other concerns with that as well, in terms of if it's constitutional nationally and with the state constitution. So we'd like to ask for a review for that too. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Lloyd. I reside at 1004 Fairground here in Mexico. Everybody knows here my view on the smoking ban. I'm opposed to it. But Tuesday nights in the summer, concerts in the park. Chad, I just want to thank you and your staff for all the hard work there, and not toot my own horn, but the community band, which I'm a member of, plays Tuesday, so come out and you can hear me toot my own horn. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Say non-paid advertisement.
Anyone else?
Yeah. David Luke. I live out in the weeds, Possum Walk Road, not exactly in the city. On the smoking ban, I would appreciate if you keep government out of people's private enterprise. Let business figure out what they want to do. If they want, people want to smoke, let the smokers come in. If they don't want to smoke, they can go someplace else. So if you're an entrepreneur, you want to attract smokers, go for it. If you don't want to attract smokers, shut it down and don't let smokers come in. That's called free enterprise. Government has no need in getting involved in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
My name's Ron Beadle. I live at 1324 North Jefferson. I'd like to know the difference in the cost of the micro mix that has the extra cover in it versus that they're using now.
Kenzie, would you address that?
$1.43 now and $3 and I believe it was 82 cents last year for the other.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I move we adjourn into executive session pursuant to the revised statutes of Missouri 610.0211 litigation.
Second.
Botts,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Lesh,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.